Hey there everyone, and welcome to Bill's Retro Gaming Show. This is part 2 of my look at the GRS Build-a-Cade. If you haven't seen my other video on the unboxing, be sure to check it out. But today what we are going to do is we are going to actually put it together. And we're going to get started on that right after this. All right, again, welcome back. Like I said, on this video, we are going to be putting together the GRS Build-a-Cade. Now, if you haven't checked out my previous video on the unboxing, be sure to check that out. There will be a link. It's probably somewhere up here, or probably at the end of the video as well. So you can be sure to check that out just to see all the different pieces that come with it. But today, I want to do an actual build of it and show you how it goes together. Now, I'm going into this pretty much blind. It's not like I put this together and took it apart so I know what the heck I was doing. So there may be a little bit of stop and go on this video, maybe a little bit of speeding up in parts on it. But I really just want to give you guys the gist of how it goes together so you can know for yourself if you are doing this yourself, and if you get stuck somewhere, hopefully this video will help. All right, so as I said in the previous video, the kit does come with everything you need to put it together, except for the Raspberry Pi that is going to, basically be the computer that runs the unit. Now, I was able to pick one up online. This is a Raspberry Pi, whoops. This is a Raspberry Pi 3 Model A Plus. I actually wound up purchasing this from a company, believe it or not, in the UK. Between the conversion and shipping and whatever, it wasn't bad. It cost me a little under 40 bucks. You can definitely find them overseas, definitely hit or miss on what you're going to pay, especially in shipping on them. So you keep an eye out for that. I will also say that Amazon now has these Raspberry Pi 3 Model A Pluses, and you can get them for about 60 bucks and probably get them a little bit quick, although mine came within a week, which isn't bad. Amazon, you might get it in a day or two, but you'll pay a little bit more for it. But still, considering the price of Raspberry Pis over the last couple of years, 60 bucks is not bad. Now, I will tell you with this particular, the difference between a Model A Plus and a Model B, which is one that I think more people are used to, is that this is a much smaller form factor SBC. You can see you don't get nearly as much. If you're familiar with the Raspberry Pis and how they look and what they come with, you don't get nearly as much on here. For instance, there is only one USB port. There is no Ethernet on it. You do still get micro USB power, which is fine. You still get HDMI, and you still get audio. And then there's other connectors that you need, like that'll have to do with other things. I don't know what other connectors this uses. We'll kind of get into that. But the single USB, for the most part, is fine for a Build-a-Cade. My understanding, and I'll have to look at this thing and get back to you guys, maybe when I do my video on, powering it up and getting, the games and everything on it, is that one USB will be enough for most of it. The only thing you would need an extra USB for would be a plug-in for the control board that uses the trackball and spinner, because it's USB powered. So that is something to keep in mind if you're building one. If you want to try to get one of the the cheaper models, but you're planning on doing a build that includes trackball and spinner, the 8 Plus may not be the one you want to go with. But we'll get more into that as we put the unit together. Now, another thing you are going to need is a screwdriver, all right? Because this comes with a lot of little screws and whatever, and it does not include Allen key or screwdriver or anything like that. So if you've got one handy, certainly use it. Probably something on the smaller end, because they are very small screws. So let's dive in and let's get started, and we'll see how this goes. All right, so before I dive in, I actually do just want to clarify something. So like I said, this does say that you can use a Model A Plus, but it says only one USB port for either external USB or optional spinner and trackball control panels. So if you get the spinner and trackball control panel, you will still be able to use this to power that control panel, but you will not be able to use the external USB ports on the unit because you need at least 2 USB ports, one for that control panel and one to power the ones that are on the back of the unit. Now, if you're using just the standard control panel it comes with, then one is fine. This will just plug in and power the 2 external ports on here, and you'll be able to use these for plugging in external controls or a keyboard or whatever else you might need when you're playing with the unit. So just wanted to clarify that, and now we'll get back into the build. Okay, so again, as we go through this, I am actually going to be sticking with the stock artwork that it comes with. Glenn has partnered with Joe Szabo for additional artwork, and I'm sure there are other people who can make artwork. There are templates out there if you want to get your own or have your own made. I'm going to stick with the stock. So one of the first things it says to do is put the artwork on the bezel and the side panels. So I am going to do that now. All right, so here we are with the artwork on it. Yeah, I had to stop the video for a little bit because it took a little bit longer to peel the back off of it than I would like to admit. And I will just give you a little pro safety tip. If you're planning on doing stuff like that where you've got to peel stuff off, don't cut your nails right before you do it. I have like nails down to nothing right here and trying to get in and get that. I tried to use a little bit of a razor blade, didn't help much. But in any case, I got it on. You can see it basically, you just peel the back off, it sticks right on, and then there is a plastic film covering it to protect the artwork that you can pull off as well. So let me do that. You've got the 2 side panels and the front bezel with the artwork on it. All right, so like I said, that first step is optional. Like I said, if you are planning on getting artwork from another source, maybe have that ahead of time. You could do it up front too. Probably just makes it easier to do it ahead of time than once the unit is built. But let's move on to the next thing, and that is going to be putting rubber feet on the bottom. So this is the bottom of the unit. This is the little baggie that has the rubber feet in it, and we would just take it out and stick them on the bottom. so now we got feet on the bottom. The next thing you're going to do is install the battery. The battery goes on the bottom piece here, and it says you take the, you can see, I don't know if you can see that on the video, but the bottom is marked with a K1 and an arrow. The battery is supposed to go in here with the wire at the rear. Secure the battery. So the wire is supposed to be coming out. I guess it doesn't. Does it matter? Nope. It fits in. It really feels like it only fits in one way. So you put this here, and you're going to take this, and you're going to, oops, you're going to secure it down with a couple of screws. Hey, sorry to interrupt this build video, but I realized something much later in the process in regards to putting in the battery pack. Now, I mistakenly thought when I looked at it that the connector cable was supposed to be going in the direction of the arrow on the bottom plate. Well, the arrow points towards what will be the front of the Build-A-Cade as you slide it in. The connector should actually be pointing in the opposite direction towards the back of the Build-A-Cade, because that is where it's going to plug in into the back panel of the Build-A-Cade. You can see it right here in the directions. The arrow points this way towards the front. The connector goes towards the back. I realized as I got closer to the end that is actually the way it goes, and I wound up turning the battery around. But I wanted to point that out now in case you're following along while trying to build it yourself. Now, back to the rest of the build. All right, and there you go. The battery is in and secured. I had to get a little beefier screwdriver because the little one just wasn't doing it. So that's the first part. All right, so next, this is the LCD screen. For it, you are going to want to remove the protective film from it. Once you do, you're going to want to put this somewhere where it's going to keep it nice and safe. They recommend putting down a clean, soft cloth, but I think keeping it on this should be okay for my purposes. I've just got to be careful with it. Okay, so here we have the screen for it, and this is the screen mount F2. I'm going to place this down very gently, and we're going to place this like so. And screw them together. Now you want to make sure that the connector is at what is ultimately going to be the top. So I'll screw that in place and then we'll come back. All right, so there we have it. We have the screen mount. This is going to be the top part here where the connector is, and you are going to take the next piece, which is the bezel, and attach it to the front. And you want this top overhang piece to be at the top where that connector is. So same thing, I'm going to put this in place, I'm going to screw it down, and then we'll move on to the next step. All right, and there you have it. That is the screen bezel attached to the screen. All right, so ultimately the Raspberry Pi is going to connect to the back of the screen, so we are going to put the little mounting screws on for the Raspberry Pi next. So if you're wondering which type, there's the 10mm and the 20mm. You want the 10mm, the smaller ones, to go on the back. And they just screw in by hand like that. All right, so next you want to install the DSI ribbon on the back here. You're going to take this little piece here and you're going to gently lift it up and out of the way. And then this is going to go in. It says that the blue side should be facing the top, which is this right here. It kind of actually, to me, looks more black than blue, but basically the little metal connector sides are going to be facing the bottom if you think about it that way. Going to insert it. And then push down, and then it's secured in place. All right, so next it is time to put the Pi on, and it comes with a micro SD extender. So we're going to put that in first. And here is the micro SD slot here. So this is just going to slide in. Should slide in, just as if you were inserting a micro SD card in it, just like so. Okay, so now we're going to connect the Pi, and you're going to actually use the 20mm standoffs to do this. And there's a couple of reasons for this, to do it this way. One, if you have a cooling fan that you want to attach, you can attach that to these 20mm stands, but it also makes it easier to replace the Pi if you want to. So like I'm starting out with this A+, if I wanted to get a B or a Pi 4 at some point and replace it, I could do that fairly easily. So that's this, and now we're going to connect the ribbon cable to the, we're going to connect the ribbon cable to the connector on the Pi, same way with the black part towards the top and the gold connector parts going towards the bottom. Hopefully you guys can see that all right. And just put it in and push the latch down just like we did on the screen. All right, you can kind of gently tug on it a little bit and you'll be able to tell that it's in place. All right, there you go. And the Pi is in place. Let's move on to the next step. All right, so now we're going to plug in the other extenders for it, and that's going to be the little power supply, HDMI, and audio. Power is going to go into the little USB-C, or, oh, sorry, grabbed the wrong one. It's actually two powers. One is USB-C, which I think is for a Pi 4, and one is micro SD for the Pi 3. Make sure you get the right one. All right, and there you go. You've got power, HDMI, audio. All right, next we're going to take the wiring harness and we're going to attach that to the pins on the Pi. Now, one thing to notice on here is that pin 40, where is it? Here it is. Pin 40 is marked on the harness. It's this purple wire right here. That is going to go towards the bottom. The bottom being where this USB port is, the top being where the DSI connector is, so that you know you are putting it in the correct way. And I'm going to be very careful not to bend any of the pins when you do this. Go, you can see that there. Actually, it took a little bit of work to push that in there, but it's in place. All right, so now we're going to start to put this into the main part of the build, and we're going to take the left side, which is marked as A, and put the screen assembly into that. So we'll lay this down flat, and we'll put this, and it just slides right in. And we turn that around a little easier to see, and it just, there's a little track for it, it just slides right in. Okay, next we're going to put the marquee in, and you got the marquee here, which I've already put the little sticker on and peeled the protective film off of both sides of it. So I think I gotta peel the protective film off. And you got these two little pieces of the channel that it goes into. This. It goes like this. This. Slide the marquee in. And then this. So, just like, there we go. Turn it around a little bit. Just like that. The bottom piece slides in, you slide the marquee in, and then the top piece, just like that. Okay, next we have the control panel, and the wiring harness that we plugged into the Pi has this little connector here, and that is going to connect to the control panel. Just going to kind of feed it through a little nice and neat, and I believe, yeah, the way that this is set up, you can really only put it in one way, so you can't mess it up. And then this goes in place. Like so. Now we take the front piece and we put that in where it goes, and tell you what's really nice about this, building this, is that there's all these little channels in the plastic, so everything just slides into place to make it nice and easy to get it in and get it to stay while you're putting everything together. It's actually a really elegant build. Really nice the way that this was designed. All right, so now we're going to take the acrylic piece here. This is going to protect the screen and the bezel, and again, just like all this other stuff, it's got a little plastic film on it. So we're going to slide that off of both sides and put it into place. And there you go. Like I said, everything is really nicely designed with these little slots for everything. So it actually doesn't go up against the screen. It actually, see if I can, there's actually a little bit of distance between the protector and the screen. There's a little channel on the control panel and the top part here, and that's where it slides into. You know, my head is probably cut off on the video right now, but I just wanted to show you guys that so you can see how that's meant to go. All right, now we're going to take the right side of the build and we're going to put that into its place. And I got to tell you, when I'm building, you know, like an arcade one up or any of those kind of things, this is always the tricky part. Let's see if it's any easier with this, with all these little slots for everything. I think I just realized that this audio cable should probably have this part plugged into the Pi. There we go, for a little added clearance. So that was something I just realized, is that the part of the audio that's at like a 90-degree angle, that's the part you should plug into the Pi. All right, that almost seemed too easy. Seriously, I complain all the time about that. Is the hardest part about getting any build together, is getting the second side panel on, and that just went right into place. I mean, yeah, that just went right into place. All right, so this is the top part. This is marked H. There's a little arrow here. The arrow goes to the front, and we are just going to slide that in. Turn this around a little bit to make it easier for myself. Make sure I get that right. Yep, that's the right way. All right, everyone, I had to take a little bit of a break while doing this, partially because I had to help out with some family stuff, but also because my phone was dying and desperately needed to get charged before I could continue on. So when we left off, I was putting the top part on, which I will admit took a little bit of finagling, and I think part of the problem is this bottom part here and this top part here for the marquee. You got to make sure that they're really lined up and in there right, and then this just slides right in. So that was my issue, was that this part was not quite lined up right, this little top part that holds the marquee in. So again, just something to keep in mind when you're putting it together. So the next part is to do the bottom with the battery, and again with this one you will see that there is a little arrow here, and it's actually where the wire is coming out. It's going to slide in with this part to the front. This part actually goes in really easy, at least it did when I looked at it before. There we go. Yeah, after I said that, sure. And there you go. Now the bottom is on, and we can stand the unit up. So here we are so far. This is what it looks like from the front. This is everything open in the back, and we'll move on to the next step. All right, so the next piece is the LED panel here, and there is a little connector that connects to this. I'm going to feed the wire in through this little hole here, and then this will just pop right in, and it should just only go in one way, so it should make it pretty simple. And there you go, it's connected. And now we just slide it into place. So then just, yeah, oops. Oh, so stupid. Why did I do that? All right, so there you go. It just slides in like that. I found that it's easier if you kind of push as you're sliding it in, to kind of push with your thumb from the bottom and glide it, and, you know, glide or guide it in, and then it just fits right in like that. Now this piece here is like a brace for the middle of it, just to give it a little extra stability. What you want to do is move all the wiring above where this is going to go. Oops. And there you go. And that just adds a little extra stability to the unit. All right, this is for a USB extension for the USB ports. So this part goes into the Pi, and then this part is going to go into, I believe, the backboard. Now, I have a Raspberry Pi 3A in here, so there's only one USB port, so I'm only going to be using one of these. If you have a 3B or a Pi 4 with more than one USB, you would plug multiples in. Next up is the coin door piece, and this has got a another port that goes to the wiring harness. And that should be this part here. So we'll feed that through the front. And connect. Nope. I apologize. That is not the right one. I don't think. Where is it? Wait. No, that must be the right one. Oh, sorry, I was right the first time. So this is it, and it just goes, oops. And there you go. Okay, so that's it. So, all right. So the next piece is to get this in place. You want to be careful of the headphone piece, the part that looks like the little coin door here, because you don't want this little rubber piece to get pinched. So we'll do our best to set this in place and not mess that up. There we go. Again, took a little bit of finagling, but I got it. And you have that to cover that. Now, just so you know, you are provided with an extra one of those little rubber pieces for the headphone jack. So if this rips or something happens to it, you do have an extra piece you can replace it with. All right, we're getting close to the final steps. The next part is going to be connecting everything up for the back panel. And we're going to start with the micro SD connector. And that is going to connect to the back panel right here. Like so. Oops. And then we're going to have to screw it into place. Okay, so next up, we're going to start plugging in all the other cables that come out of the back, starting with the HDMI. And that is going to go in here. And then we're going to hold it in place with some screws from the back part here. There, like that. All right, now you take the piece from the battery and put that in. Like so. And let's see what else. Okay. This is USB power. That goes right here. Like so. And finally, the main part of the wiring harness, this black piece, is going to go up here. And again, just like all the others, it can only go one way. There is a little tab on the top that goes into the top part right here. Make sure that it's pushed all the way in. So now basically what you want to do is get all of the wiring in as much as you can and push it all down. And we're going to screw the back on. All right, so we are almost done with the build. The last piece is going to be to finish up the control panel. Take the little artwork for it, put that on there. Little dust cover there. And I'm going to take one of the little ball tops. It comes with 2 ball tops and a bat top, so you can kind of decide what you want. And it just kind of, and these just kind of basically sit on there. They don't really screw in. But it's on there pretty good. While you're playing it, you shouldn't have any problem with it. And there you go. That is the Build-a-Cade. Here we see it from the front, the side, and from the back. So one other thing it does not come with is that it does not come with a power cable, but it is powered by USB. And I believe, is it USB? I believe it's USB-C. Yep, it's USB-C. So any standard USB-C cable, you could plug that in, and then you got your on-off switch here for turning it off and on for power. That is going to do it for this video. I'm going to come back for part 3, where we are going to power it on, get everything running, show you the game that it comes with, and then talk about putting more games on to your Build-a-Cade. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. See you on the next one.